Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Starmade. Of course we're gonna continue on our little Monopoly game. Today I would like to achieve a functioning dice system. At the same time I would also like to have a working player order. So for instance, we would say player blue goes first, then player red, then green and then yellow. And of course this has to be displayed maybe on a wall right here. And I would like to make a real dice. That means we're not gonna have like numbers, we're gonna have two squares filled with the individual points, and depending on what we actually roll, we will be seeing those dots flashing up. So there's two functionalities we're gonna implement today, the player order and being able to roll the dice. Before we continue, I want to show you how I will intend to display how many houses and hotels a certain player has. So these are the real player colors, and for instance, if the player blue buys this square, then we can simply light this up and you can see it is now indicating that there is one house on there. And of course we would like to automate this process as good as possible, so you will not have to go below here in order to purchase it. But depending on where the player is, we can certainly through some kind of logic make this a lot easier and more automated. Apart from that, I didn't change anything in between the episodes, so we can continue building right off the bat. Now let's see, do I still have... yeah, I still have my black hole. So that is good. I've been eagerly creating these activation modules, however, I still need more lights, so that is one thing we will have to take care of. However, where are we gonna have the dice? I would say we're gonna build a slight extension right here, and now a symmetry plane might actually make sense. So let's see if we can set this plane. It should be in the dead center, which means we need to go with odd symmetry mode, right? And we need to place it right here. Okay, and now theoretically if I place stuff, it should be happening on the other side as well, which is beautiful and perfect. So I want to go up at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks. So this is the earliest where we are gonna start with our dice. And now I would suggest we're gonna try to find the center, which obviously is right here. And how much do we want the dice to be separated, the two colors? I think by 4 blocks. So these would be the edges of the dice along with those guys. So let's think about that. I probably want to take a different color. We will be taking white lights. However, I do not have them in my inventory. So for now, we're just gonna indicate them like so. So this is one eye of the cube. Do we also call them eyes? Anyways, there's gonna be the second eye right here, then the third one in the center, and of course the other ones. Oh, I just realized this will not add up and might even look ugly. Let's see what we can achieve doing that. So we would have to do something like this, right? No, I think the outer ones here are not necessary, right? We can say 1, then 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, okay, like this is good. And that will probably be nicely visible from the other side or anywhere where you are currently. Yeah, look at that. You can always have a nice look at them. We're also gonna fill them up with black holes, the other ones, so we can clearly see which lamps will be on. And now, of course, we will have to implement some kind of a random system in order to accommodate all of the numbers. We need to have some kind of a rolling functionality, and it kind of needs to be accessible from anywhere. I was actually thinking about adding a bunch of build blocks, so the players will actually not be really there, but they will be in the build mode and therefore be able to, you know, click the buttons where they need to. And there will be a representation of their figure on the actual board. However, this must be done semi-automatically, because I'm not sure how I would accomplish this, but there's probably a logical solution behind this. I will just have to think about it. Anyways, the next step, first of all, is gonna be to add the randomness and the ability to actually roll. So let me think about that for a second and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I actually decided to go with the black lights, but if they actually are enabled, they are more like purple. However, this gives off a nice contrast. You can clearly see how many eyes should be visible or counted. And also we have the ability to individually actually roll these two dices. I already built the first one, the second one we're gonna build together so you actually know what's happening. But just for testing purposes, let's roll the dice and you can see it being rolled, and at some point it will stop randomly. For instance, now we got the number 2. If we roll again, we should get a different number. Let's see, 6. Sometimes, of course, you also get the same number because it is truly random, more or less. Of course, it's not perfectly random, but it is time dependent. So depending at which time you actually press the button, you will get a different number. So I think that is pretty cool and so far functioning beautifully. What do we get now? We get the number 2 again. Okay, let's have a look at the functionality behind it. Now, first of all, it looks a little bit complicated, but it is actually rather easy. We're gonna build the entire system together. You can see I already prepared all of the activation modules that correspond with the individual lights on the other side. And what I also set up right here at the bottom is the randomizer, as I call it. So only if this baby is right here at this edge, then the number will come to a halt. Now, depending on when you actually press the button and where this bad boy is, only then you can actually decide for a number. So let's actually test this out. I press, for instance, this button right here, and you can see this one is going, but it's not gonna stop unless this guy is at the very edge here, and now we got the number 5, so this should be displayed on the other side. So if we now move on to the next player and roll again, you can see this one is going to be much faster at the aim, and we rolled a 5 again. And if we roll right now, then we get a number 1. Look at this. I think this is quite enough randomness for a casual game of Monopoly. Right here at the top, we're gonna have a different system in order to display the actual player. So right now it's the blue player's turn, and he will have to roll with both dice. Once he is finished with his turn, then we can hit the next player button, which is gonna be right here. It's just, you know, all of these buttons are gonna do the same thing. It's just so that you don't have to aim too carefully. But once you press this button, then it will continue to the next rail. And look at this, I placed here a NOT gate. So as soon as it's the next player's turn, the lamps will shine and also the dice will be ready to roll again. So without any further ado, let's build the exact same thing on the other side. What I need is a bunch of activation modules first of all. So we're gonna do this right here. I want to leave about 3 spaces empty right here, and then we need 1 for each number on the dice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that should be all right. On top of these guys, I want to install a bunch of AND gates. And those are going to be important because we want to hook them up with this button right here. So only when this button is pressed and also one of these activation modules is active, then the AND gate will function. And therefore we want to hook this up to all of the AND gates. And also we want to set up a basic rail that will change the rail system. However, we might want to first place our rail system right here. That should be good. And of course, I do not have enough rails, so I'm going to craft a bunch, I guess. Let's see, rails. Yeah, basic rails. I'm gonna need a bunch of you guys. There we go. I guess 27 are gonna do the trick for the time being. What I want to do is have a button right here that is gonna be activated as soon as the docked unit is coming along these lines, and it's going to activate another button, and adjacent to the button I want to have a rail that is facing the opposite way of what we had previously, and we want to hook up this button to all of these rails. So it will automatically switch all of the rails and go back into this direction. I want to do the same thing on the other side, so we're gonna have 2 buttons. One is gonna be hooked up to the next, and then these guys are gonna be hooked up with this, and I want a basic rail facing into my direction. There we go. Now it should be going back and forth. Let's actually already install this unit. We want to create a new ship. Hop inside of it, Z in order to get into the build mode, and we add a docking unit below it. and should be facing this way. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter in which direction it is facing. G in order to get the weapons menu up and add it to the hotbar. And now we only need to dock this bad boy. There we go. Let's hop outside of it and get back into our trusty build block here. Okay, now we have this guy going back and forth, and of course it is activating all of these modules at some point. And if you observe this guy when he actually reaches this point, oh no, it did all of them. What? Of course, that happens because we have not hooked up the activation modules with the AND gates as well. Now it should only be one that is activated. And I think I just missed it. There we go. Yeah, look at this. It was number 3. Great. Now we need to bring this to a halt. So I would say we're gonna do something like this. We add a rail adjacent to each of these AND gates. The rail is gonna face into our direction, something like that. And the AND gates are all gonna be hooked up to this bad boy. So no matter at which AND gate we are gonna stop, the docked units are also going to stop. Okay, and at this point we want to make sure that this guy right here, responsible for the second dice, is also hooked up with these rails. So as soon as we press this button, it should continue, and there we go. Once the randomizer is at a certain point, we will be getting to a halt. And now the only thing we have to do is hook up these activation modules to the individual numbers. You can do them in order or out of order for even more randomness if you would like to. So I'm gonna hook them up in order. This is number 1, then we have the number 2, number 3 with those 3 guys, number 4 just the outside cubes, number 5 all of the outside ones including the center one, and number 6 those guys on the edges. Okay, so theoretically this should already work. We should be able to kind of roll the dice with both of these guys. Yeah, look at that. It is already stopped at number 3, and oh, it is actually also activating the other unit, so that might be an issue. What did I do wrong? I hooked it up with something that I don't want. Oh yeah, look at this. This one here is also hooked up to these rails. Of course we don't want that. We only want them to be hooked up individually, so you can also roll just with 1 dice. In certain situations I heard that is necessary. So one more check, roll the left dice. Yeah, that seems to be alright. What do we get? Oh, come on. Doesn't it stop? It doesn't stop. Oh no. Oh, it actually did stop. It just took a little longer. That is interesting. Ah, I know why it takes longer, of course. There's one thing I forgot to install. I want this to be moving a little bit faster through the numbers. So we are going to install yet another thing, a rail speed thingy-majingy. We want to add this at the bottom here, I would suggest. Did I do this on the same level? No, I actually did it right here. Okay, this rail module we want to hook up with all of our rails, but also a activation module that is active, and this will get it to the maximum available speed. So there we go. If we roll the dice, you can see this is now much faster, and therefore we're going through the numbers a little bit more quickly. Okay, as you can see, I also did the same thing down here. So we could theoretically slow down the randomizer slightly and therefore get different outcomes, give the numbers a little bit more time to jiggle around, and so players cannot really cheat if they get behind the pattern. But I think it's fairly random because theoretically you cannot see, no, practically even, you cannot see this randomizer, and therefore you never know when to hit the button. What do you think about that? Anyways, one more thing is left to do, namely the player button. or the player order. We want to make sure that we can move along these lines and always indicate whose turn it is, and also let the activation modules here go off. So we know, yeah, now I'm ready to roll the dice. And as soon as both of these activation modules are active, we know the player has rolled. So what do we get? What do we get? 8. Okay, interesting. Anyways, let's go ahead and build the basic rails for this one. We're gonna start with the blue player right here. This is always gonna be the first player, then red, then green, and then yellow. That's just how it's going to be. We do something like this, and now at this point I actually want to go into a different direction, I think. I don't want this to be going back and activating all of the players. I want it to be kind of going along these lines. And of course, I still don't have enough rails. There we go, 15 more rails. That should be enough in order to finish this. Okay, and here we want to take another curve. Something, oh no. Something like this, yeah, okay. And by default, I guess we want to have those guys into this direction. That would probably make sense, right? So, let's see. Could we do this maybe with a delay signal? I think that might actually be the easiest. Do I have a delay signal? I should have plenty of delay signals. Let's quickly check my chest right here. Delay signal, there we go, I knew it. Okay, so theoretically with any of these buttons we want to make those rails go straight, except this one should go into this direction, of course. And then after a short delay we're gonna switch them again. So let's do this. We want to hook them all up with each other, so I'm just gonna use each button and hook them up with the remaining 3. So no matter which button we press, it's always gonna be, you know, going to the next player. Good, now let's make sure we're going into the right direction. I'm just gonna have rails adjacent to... Does that make sense? I don't know. Well, let's just grab one of those guys and hook it up with each of the rails. That should be good. Yeah, and actually we only need like 2 of them, right? And one should be facing towards us. So this guy right here should be responsible for this rail and this guy not for this rail. So now, no matter which button we press, yeah, look at that, it is building the circle. So now after a short delay, let's add the delay right here. We can, for instance, hook up this button to the delay. It doesn't really matter since all the buttons activate at the same time. Then this delay, oh no, it should not be next to another rail, the delay. So I guess we're gonna have the delay right here, hook this button up, and the delay itself is gonna be hooked up to a basic rail facing into this direction, and it should be responsible for all of these guys. There we go. So now if I press a button, they will switch and switch again and give the docked unit enough time to continue to the next player. So let's put this to a test. I need to create yet another chip core. Do the same thing as before. There we go. Let's go ahead and dock the unit. We get out of there and get into our normal build mode. Okie doke, you can now see it is the first player's turn and the dice should theoretically be available to roll. So maybe if we remove those guys, you can see they are shut off. Now we would be rolling, do our turn, etc, etc. There we go, we rolled, what did we roll? 3 and 3, so that's not too shabby at all. Let's maybe deactivate one of those. I want it to be slightly slower. Anyways, the player's turn is over, therefore we activate this and it's gonna continue to the next player and the next player can do the roll. Yeah, this seems to be working out beautifully. Okay, let's actually watch this from here, where the players usually would be. Alright, we can see it's the red player's turn and we rolled 6 and 4. Great, let's move to the next player, which should be green. There we go, and we can do the roll. Oh yeah, I actually really like it, guys. What do you think of the system? Is it random enough? I mean, 3 and 1. I don't think you can really predict what's coming up. You cannot really, you know, influence the roll. Now it's the yellow player's turn, and what did we roll? Number 1 and number... come on, 4. Okay, we rolled the 5. That is beautiful. Okay, next up we would be going to the first player again, and of course this trip might actually be a little bit long because we have to go through all of this shebang. What do you think? I mean, we could make this a little bit faster with yet another rail speed controller. We simply add this bad boy here, hook it up to all of the rails, I mean really all of them. There we go, and we also hook it up to an activation module that is active. And now theoretically we should be going a little bit faster and still, you know, have the time to switch the rails and everything. Great, I love it. I love it, guys. It's officially done. Oh, why are we still rolling just number 1? What is happening here? Oh, I can see one problem here. Look at this, it is actually not switching the last rail because this button doesn't get activated anymore. Okay, so there's a slight bug in it, but I'm sure we can fix that soon. Anyways guys, with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave down a like or a comment or a suggestion or anything at all. I'm really looking forward to your feedback on this. Have a great time, and hopefully I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.